at ensuring that pregnant mothers receive financial support from the child's father, even before it's born. We'll discuss this and more of today's top stories. I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also be joined by Harris County Precinct 6 Constable Silvia Trevino, talking about holiday shopping safety and porch pirates.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. Plus, we'll also chat with engineer Dale Link, who will tell us how he comes up with his hurricane landfall predictions and his forecast for the upcoming 2026 hurricane season.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And don't forget, you can watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Federal Reserve is about to conclude its final meeting of the year. Another quarter percentage point interest rate cut is widely expected. But the Fed's next steps for 2026 are less clear, as it works with limited information about inflation and jobs because of delays caused during the historically long government shutdown. At a campaign-style rally in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, President Trump disputed reports that polls suggest voter confidence in his handling of the economy has fallen. Here's NPR's Tamara Keith.
Last night, yet again, he mocked the preoccupation with affordability. He says that he inherited a mess. In other words, don't blame me, blame the former guy. And he says things are already cheaper. In particular, he talks a lot about gas prices. According to Gas Buddy, prices are down about 8 cents on average a gallon from a year ago. But that's not really enough savings to make up for higher grocery prices and utility bills and healthcare costs.
NPR's Tamara Keith. The Affordable Care Act subsidies millions of people have relied on are due to expire in a few weeks. Many Afghan soldiers who fought under CIA leadership during the war in Afghanistan have struggled since fleeing to the U.S. Some believe they did not receive enough support navigating America's complicated immigration system. We have more from NPR's Brian Mann.
The Afghan accused of shooting 2 National Guard soldiers was part of a CIA Zero unit fighting the Taliban. Some Zero unit fighters, including Daoud, now say after coming to the U.S. they didn't receive help getting permanent asylum or work visas that would allow them to start new lives.
It's like that feeling of like you did something, but nobody is appreciating, and the promise that was given to you by your employer was a fake promise.
Daoud spoke on condition of anonymity because he fears for the safety of families still living in Afghanistan. Daoud and an aid group called FAMIL that works with Zero unit fighters say at least 4 men have taken their own lives since coming to the U.S. The CIA declined comment. Brian Mann, NPR News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will not give up territory as part of any deal to end the war with Russia. More from NPR's Joanna Kakissis.
Zelensky had no time to hold a press conference after back-to-back meetings with European leaders in London, Brussels, and Rome, so he answered reporters' questions through WhatsApp messages during his flights. In one message, he said it is Russia that has been pushing for Ukraine to give up land, something he says he has no moral right to do. Undoubtedly, he said, we want America on our side in this case because America acts as a mediator here. If Russia wants us to give up our territories, he added, we will defend our interests. Ukraine's constitution forbids changing the country's borders. Joanna Kakissis, NPR News, Kyiv.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is again targeting property taxes for the 2027 legislative session. Patrick's proposal, called Operation Double Nickel, reduces the senior homestead exemption to 55 years of age.
In our next legislative session, we will reduce the age of qualification for the senior homestead exemption from 65 down to 55. These homeowners will get a big break 10 years earlier.
Voters last month raised the homestead exemption to $140,000 for everyone and raised it even further for seniors to $200,000. Patrick's proposal increases the number of people eligible for the larger deduction. A Montgomery County deputy shot a suspect during a traffic stop on Tuesday outside Carl Barton Park. This prompted a heavy law enforcement presence, and the park closed early. Police say they tried to pull their suspect over. However, upon exiting the vehicle, he began acting erratically, and the interaction escalated. ABC 13 reports the officer fired 3 shots, hitting the suspect in the hand. He fled towards the park, and that's where police apprehended him. That man is expected to face criminal charges. In sports, the Rockets return to action at home tomorrow night, welcoming in the Los Angeles Clippers. The Rockets are at 15-6 on the season, good for 4th in the Western Conference. The Clippers, they're struggling near the bottom of the West at 6-18. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock at Toyota Center. Taking a look at weather, sunny today with a high near 74 degrees. It'll be mostly clear tonight with a low around 48. Tomorrow, clear, cool, and windy. On Thursday, a high of 67. Get the whole story. Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org for the latest news and information. Right now, 59 degrees under mostly clear skies on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, a personalized program that bases rates on safe driving habits, at Progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome.
Hello, it's Hello Houston.
It is Hello Houston, and
Celeste was doing the hump day dance.
I was doing the hump day.
It's Wednesday.
We come to you on YouTube, on the radio, on podcast, even a commuter cut. We're everywhere you want to be, all over social media, too.
And today is December 10th, and we are moving right along in the month. I mean,
my sister's birthday.
Happy birthday, Frank's sister.
Yes, she is finally at the age where she can collect Social Security.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sure she's
tread
happy you
lightly,
said that.
Frank. Tread lightly. Careful, careful.
So good for her.
Congratulations to
Congratulations.
Frank's sister.
Yes, but we have quite the show.
We do. We have a lot going on. Before the show, though, we were talking about they're wanting for our social media to put up some of our favorite Christmas movies.
Yes.
And Frank brought up a good question. You know, when you think about Christmas movies, there aren't many religious Christmas movies.
They're not about the birth of Christ.
Right. There's not like the birth movies.
Right.
Very
There was some
family-oriented.
death of Christ, the
Right.
Passion.
Easter, you
and
got lots of those.
Oh, love the 10 Commandments.
Oh, yeah. Well, that predates the Jesus story, but it definitely hits the Easter season. But when it comes, I mean, last night Kevin Costner hosted a special on TV about the first Christmas. But really, you were right. I can't think of, I mean, I came up with Little Drummer Boy was the closest I could come to.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We want to hear from you. If you know of a good religious movie that's
Not just
around
religious. We want a
Christmas.
baby Jesus movie.
I was going to finish.
I'm sorry.
I was going to finish that. Yes, not just religious, but one about the baby Jesus. We'd love to hear from you. 713-440-8870.
I mean, we've got to be just missing it.
Put the Christ back in Christmas. That's a thought, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know what I watched last night, and I was wrapping Christmas gifts, and because last year I told myself at midnight I was not going to do that again, and wrapping Christmas gifts, and I watched the documentary of Selena Quintanilla, the Toronto star. I cried like a baby.
You've never seen it?
I never saw the documentary.
Yeah.
I'd seen the movie. I grew up in South Texas. I knew a lot about her. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean, it really affected me.
Okay, I don't know how I'm going to transition from that.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So we went with our friends Matt and Regina, who have 1-year-olds, so they don't get out much.
Yes.
I know. So we went to dinner last night at a place called Rosie Cannonball.
Oh, yeah, it's a great restaurant.
I never heard of it.
I hadn't either.
Celeste is in the know.
And then we went after dinner. We did like a 6 o'clock dinner, and after dinner we went to the Marigold Club next door for a drink, which is gorgeous.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how are all these fabulous restaurants popping up in Houston, and I don't know about them? And then I realized, well, when you do nighttime weather for 30 years and you try to grab a barbecue sandwich between shows, you don't really experience fine dining in Houston very much.
I consider a barbecue sandwich fine
dining.
dining. Where did you used to grab them from?
I did too for a long time.
Yeah.
And now I just consider that filling.
Yes, it was it's a great restaurant. But speaking of weather, Frank.
Yeah. Well, as we heard, it's nice. I don't see any rain in the forecast. A little warming trend as we go toward the weekend. So if you have holiday plans, I think it's going to be fairly nice for you.
And we're going to be talking about the end of hurricane season coming up in the
this is remarkable. Hour. We're going to talk to Dale Link, who I talked to back in February, before we were even on the air. And he said to me then, I'm not predicting any hurricanes for the Gulf of Mexico. And I was like, okay, please, that's not going to happen. It has happened like 2015, I think it happened. But, that's not going to happen. Well, it didn't happen. I mean, his forecast was, we're going to talk to him about that. And he doesn't, a lot of people forecast how many. Well, everybody forecasts how many we're going to have, if it's going to be a busy season or not. He doesn't do that. He forecasts where they're going to go.
Right, and I think that's very interesting.
That's what matters.
When I was reading about him, you're absolutely right. He doesn't forecast how many.
Right.
He forecasts landfall.
Right.
And that is unique. I think that's interesting.
He's the only one that does it. And that's really all we care about. At the end of the day, if it doesn't affect you, it was a zero hurricane season, right?
Yeah.
And this year, no one was affected in the United States. Mexico had a little storm.
Mm-hmm. What about the Carolinas?
Nope. Almost got Imelda, which he predicted South Carolina was going to get hit, and Imelda was going to go to South Carolina. I thought, well, he's got it. And then it got pulled out. Umberto pulled it out to sea at the last minute, but still, it was a pretty good call.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about that conversation, and then we're also going to be talking about holiday safety.
Yes, we have Silvia Trevino is going to be on. She's Precinct 6 Constable. About porch pirates. They're out there in full force right now.
Oh, in my neighborhood.
Despite the ring cameras. They don't care.
Well, it's getting more sophisticated, and that's what I think is going to be very interesting to discuss with her, is how, now, the thieves aren't getting more sophisticated, but the way their thievery is.
Oh. Yeah, they're still thieves.
They're still thieves. They're not sophisticated.
Before we get into the headlines, we had asked a question about looking for Christmas movies that are based in the birth of Jesus. We have Nestor, the long-eared Christmas donkey. That animated special takes place in the manger. I also got texted The Star, which is a kids movie. Journey to Bethlehem. Chasing the Star, I don't know that one. And here's an interesting one, A Charlie Brown Christmas, because in A Charlie Brown Christmas, they tell the story of the Nativity.
They do.
Yeah, so there you go.
Mostly it's cartoons, though.
Mostly cartoons.
Right, it's more children-based, child-based stories.
Telling the baby story. Yes. And speaking of that, that's just one big story that made news back in the day.
Yep.
A lot of stories making news today. It was a terrible segue, but so let's take us into
I'm going to take us
Frank is going to take us.
A House Republican is mounting an effort to make it easier for women to keep and raise their babies after birth. Fox News reports that Representative Ashley Hinson from Iowa is unveiling a bill called the Supporting Healthy Pregnancy Act that would ensure pregnant mothers get financial support from the father even before their child is born. Hinson's bill would require states to establish systems where the biological father of a child is required to pay at least 50% of out-of-pocket costs for medical expenses associated with a pregnancy and a delivery, including health insurance premiums. Single mothers are currently eligible to request a legal order for child support beginning at birth in most states, meaning many are left to deal with the costs before birth associated with the pregnancy. What are your thoughts? Should the father be required to cover those costs as well, or should the child support begin at birth? Call 713-440-8870. Texas already has this.
Yes, of course. And this is
a no-brainer.
And this is a perfect example of why we need women in elected political positions, drafting legislation that will positively affect women in that, yes, absolutely.
Well, she's from Iowa, which already has this too. Iowa, Utah, and Texas have some form of the father having to take responsibility before birth.
You legally have to request it, and it has to come once the baby is born.
Why? To make sure the baby's live?
No, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Just no. Legal. Like you have to request it. And to me, that is more looking at child support than essentially looking at the cost incurred to give birth within a hospital. Hinson, like you said, is from Iowa. She has been very vocal about being a mom on a mission.
She's probably taking a page out of the Iowa book that's already on the books, right?
And I absolutely think that if a single mom or mother or woman goes into the hospital and is giving birth and the hospital comes out to be $12,000, why is she solely responsible at paying the $12,000?
Of course, absolutely.
When it takes two to tango.
Right. Okay, I'm going to come in with, and this is not my opinion. It is simply food for thought. I want to put that out there before I say it because it's going to be very controversial. So then if they are financially also responsible, is the choice of what the mother does with the baby also theirs? If the mother decides she doesn't want to carry a baby to term, is she allowed to do that if the father now is financially obligated toward care too? Does it come with certain rights for the father that aren't
This is not
currently
financial
there?
care, though. We're just talking about when a woman goes into the hospital to give birth, should the man that impregnated her, the biological father, the biological person who impregnated her, be responsible for medical bills going forward?
Financial support from the father before the child is born. So they are taking
Correct.
an investment they are putting an investment into the child before it's born. So it could be prenatal appointments, all of that kind of stuff, not just the birth, paying for the birth of the child. It's giving support before the child is born. Once it becomes
The whole thing,
becomes pregnant.
50-50.
Right.
50-50.
So if in fact financially that's there, then shouldn't all choices for the fetus, for the unborn baby, be split?
So if it's a late-term abortion,
So
you're saying?
the bill actually excludes abortions. It
Right.
absolutely
I'm not asking about
excludes
paying
it.
for the abortion, but I'm saying if a woman finds out she is pregnant and she decides if this law is passed and she decides to terminate the pregnancy for whatever reason, does she have sole responsibility to decide that if in fact
Yes.
this new bill comes into effect that says a man is 50% financially responsible, why are they not 50% responsible for all choices relating to the baby?
Well, that's a moral choice as opposed to a financial.
Exactly. That's the difference, is that when we look at this strictly from a financial perspective, if a woman gets her hospital bill and it's sent to her specifically, then the question becomes, is she responsible for
but to Ernie's
100%
point,
of the cost?
Let me ask you this. To Ernie's point, let's say that I, as the father, play this and go all the way 50%, and in the 7th month, the woman decides to have an abortion. Do I get my 50% back if I don't want the abortion to happen?
You don't pay for. You have to pay for the hospital bills. I
Well, it's
read
all
the
prenatal.
bill specifically.
I mean, what about all the prenatal? No, it's prenatal appointments, everything.
You can't get an abortion after a certain amount of weeks anyway.
Right. But I guess the bigger question I'm just asking is theoretically, if you are financially implicated in it now at 50%, should all decisions be 50% man-woman?
Yes. I think so.
That's the thought I'm putting out there because
Unfortunately,
I see this
that is
path
very
leading there.
theoretical.
Right.
Unfortunately, the reality of it is most women that are single out there buy.
Yeah.
That's in theory. That's very let's sit down.
But
let's
there have
make
been
this
lawsuits where the father has challenged the mother of the baby deciding to terminate the pregnancy, and so far the courts have said the woman is in charge of her body when it comes to that, if in fact it's
right, unless she wants to make decisions about her body.
Here's another fly in the ointment. What if you don't know who the father is? What if the father is Ernie and I'm the one having to pay all of this money, and then we find out later after the baby's born, I'm not the father, Ernie's the father.
To me,
do I get my money back?
Once again, it shifts all the responsibility back on a woman in that, who is she sleeping with and da-da-da-da. Well, what about a guy who has 12 or 13 kids?
Yeah.
I mean, what about that? Yeah. Who has, with multiple women?
And I agree down the line with it.
The fact of the matter is a woman can only have, at a certain point,
only have so many kids.
Can only have so many kids. A man can continue to procreate.
And they do.
Or a mother that leaves the country. You help pay for all of the bills, and then the baby is born, and the mother leaves the country. You don't know where she went.
Right.
Remember, that was a big case. Remember when the mother went to South America, and the father took years for him to get that child.
I'm just saying, does this then open the gates again about who has control over the fetus? If, in fact, you are financially on the hook for the baby or the fetus or whatever, I'm talking about before born, who has responsibility for that?
Well, it's already been. I mean, the Texas bill establishes retroactive child support from the date of conception.
Right.
So maybe that's solved by the Texas
We
bill.
received an off-air comment from a caller that says, why is the man paying for child support when the child isn't born yet? And that was John from Southwest Houston. Well, my thought is that in the state of Texas, conception starts at the second the baby, you are deemed pregnant.
Right.
So, yes, child support should start the second you impregnate a woman.
Yes.
Sure. It's your child.
Right.
Yeah.
If you know
Not
the father,
after the
if you know
birth.
the father
In the
is.
state of Texas, it is, we don't, it is before.
What if I say, hey, that's not my kid?
Well, then we can take tests.
But we can't.
And find out.
Can we take tests before the child is born?
I'm not sure if you can take a
Yeah, I
paternity
think we have
test.
to take tests after the child is born, and then, okay, it is mine.
No, I think you can take paternity tests before. I mean, I think they can do embryonic. Here we are talking in an area I don't know the terminology for, but they can do tests on the embryo and see,
No, Espinosa 5616 says paternity test is why you have to wait for child to be born. The child to be born. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's interesting, but there are 3 states, Utah, Texas, and Iowa, that have some semblance of this already on the books.
Yeah.
I think this representative from Iowa, where it's her
Wants to take
state,
it
is just trying to take it nationally and codify it.
Yes,
she might do it.
713-440-8870. Curious to hear what you're thinking. Toy is on the phone from Sugarland. Toy, what's on your mind?
Hi. I wanted to say that I think that the only time that men have a true say about their 50% is at the birth control stage. And I think that we need to have greater birth control campaigns now. I think that men need to be more responsible for their birth control. And I think that we should have a campaign. We're living at a time where there are more types of birth control available than ever in human history. So we need to be campaigning that, because it just seems that adults are not doing really good at being birth control responsible.
Yep. Toy, thank you for that. Whole other can of worms to open there, too, as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
If you
I
don't
just
have the
think there's
problem,
a-
you don't have the problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my point was just hypothetical about if, in fact, financially you are responsible for the baby before it's born, are you also 50% responsible for all the decisions made about that baby before it's born? I think that putting a financial responsibility on the father legally opens that can of worms about all decisions that are made, where currently, if I'm right on law, women can make these decisions about their own body, and that this pushes it into a phase
I
of
think that the
legislative questions.
My thought process is if you can add another layer of responsibility to lessen the burden for a woman who is going in to have a baby that is already going to be, potentially a single parent, and her partner or ex-partner, maybe the relationship fell through, makes a lot more money than her. Why is she stuck paying for the hospital bill?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
You're right.
It bothers me, this financial
There needs to be
responsibility burden.
responsibility on, everybody shifts blamed immediately. Well, what if she's this, or what if he's this or that?
Oh, he probably could be. He's not taking responsibility.
440-8870. Sean, what's on your mind?
In response to Celeste's comment that the responsibility is always put on women, if the woman chooses to partner up with a bum, then it is her responsibility if that bum guy doesn't pay for anything. I feel like the whole conversation needs to be tweaked, because the system is broken, forcing men to pay for child support and to pay for now maternity care. I mean, I understand morally that is correct, but at the same time, if we're talking about freedoms and too much regulation, it's kind of like regulating people's personal lives.
Sean, I'm going to leave it there and let Celeste take this one. I'm going to be quiet.
Sean, I'm not sitting here necessarily saying that, women don't have any responsibility. 100%. But I also think that there are a lot of women out there that fall in love and perhaps end up in situations that if they would have known from the start what they were getting themselves into, perhaps would have made better decisions. And that might have been a decision when they were young. It might have been a decision that slowly after a while has eroded. But at the end of the day, regardless, if you have two people that have come together and made very adult choices to procreate, maybe it was an accident, maybe it wasn't, but now women face major penalties if they try to say, you know what, I'm got stuck with a bum, or you know what, I was raped. They have no choice in what to actually do with that baby. So all I'm saying is that I think men should take on the responsibility. If they are going to make the decision to do adult things, then they need to be the adult and step up and financially support that baby. Not necessarily the woman, but they need to financially support the child.
Well,
And with that, we're always interested in what you have to say. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
So moving on, HISD has agreed to settle a federal lawsuit filed by two Bel Air high school parents who sued the district earlier this year for allegedly continuing to use their child's preferred pronouns, despite requests from the parents not to do so. A settlement agreement signed by the parents, HISD Superintendent Mike Miles, and their attorneys was filed Friday in court, as first reported by the Houston Chronicle. The agreement had not been signed by a judge as Monday afternoon. Court records show HISD agreed to direct staff at Bel Air, where the student is enrolled, to use pronouns that align with the student's sex at birth. The parents agreed to release, acquit, and forever discharge any and all claims against the school district, which is denying all claims and allegations made by the parents as part of the agreement. HISD agrees to direct all professionals, employees assigned to Bel Air High School to address the parent's daughter only by her given name or nickname based on her given name, and by female pronouns while their daughter is a minor and enrolled in HISD. And that is what the agreement states. What do you think about this settlement? This is something we've been discussing on Hello Houston. You can give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870.
I have no comment on that.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah, but we do want to know what you think about that. Give us a call, 713-440-8870. And we'll thoughts on it, Celeste, before we wrap the segment?
No comment.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much there. We're watching how this plays out. Let us know what you think. Reach out to us and let us know.
Yes. And coming up on Hello Houston, Precinct 6, Constable Silvia Trevino will join us to talk about holiday shopping, safety, and porch pirates.
And coming up, a look back on this year's hurricane season. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
This is Ira Glass of This American.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Where we're not just interested in what's going on in the world, but why it's happening and how. Details are important, so are different points of view. We're dedicated to bringing you the stories behind the big events, and the small ones too. Join us every Sunday morning for Weekend Edition from NPR News.
Weekend Edition, Saturdays and Sundays from 7 to 9 a.m. on News 88.7.
The U.S. economy is sending mixed signals these days, from strong spending on Black Friday to a rising number of layoffs. In some cases, it sent no signals at all, with federal economic data missing or delayed. What we know about the state of the U.S. economy right now for consumers, job seekers, and companies, and what it could look like going into 2026. That's next time on 1A.
Today at 2 on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University of Houston system, governed by the UH Board of Regents. Information about open meetings, dates, times, and locations is online at uhsystem.edu.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, it's a night of nature and science. At 7, Nature presents Canada, Surviving the Wild North. Then at 8, Nova examines new prehistoric evidence on Ice Age footprints. Tonight on TV8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
As we head into the holiday season, it's a time for family celebrations and also, unfortunately, an uptick in certain safety concerns. Local law enforcement reminds us that this busy time of year often brings more distractions, more shopping trips, and more Amazon packages, as well as more opportunities for thieves to take advantage. And today we're joined by Harris County Precinct 6 Constable Silvia Trevino to talk about how all of us can stay alert, protect our belongings, and keep ourselves and our communities safe during the holidays. Constable Trevino, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here today.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
And if you have a question for the constable, you can give us a call or send us a text, 713-440-8870. Constable Trevino, oftentimes when we hear about porch pirates, we think of just they're getting out of the car and they're running up to the porch and they're stealing. Mm-hmm. But is that the case?
It is a case in most cases, but it's very prevalent, and I'm sure it's all over as well. But some of the people that have cameras, you can see them when they walk up to the porch. I mean, just nonchalant, pick up the package, throw it in their car, and just drive off. I mean, they're not even zooming off or anything. So it's like they almost know that no one is watching them, or they just delivered the package and no one is home, or maybe they don't have cameras. But it's very prevalent in I think in most areas, and especially during this time, the holidays, where people are really ordering online. And I know I've had my share of packages. I have an iron gate, though, so they usually throw my packages over the fence. So that's pretty good. I know one time I ordered some cases of juices that I had ordered, and I guess I had ordered some other stuff too, and they just put it on the outside on the sidewalk. And so when I got home, I was like, "Oh my God, someone could have taken my juices and my packages." And
There's a little bit of a solution. I don't know how easy it is, where you can let Amazon or any delivery service open your garage and put it in there and then close the garage door. I think you have to have another device.
Correct. And I think that you can make a notation online also when you're ordering. Like if you leave your number and they call you, you can, I could probably open the gate from my telephone, if someone had to really go in and drop the package off on my front porch,
I have that service.
Yeah, you can, or make a notation and just say.
But it used to be free. It was one of the choices, and now you have to pay extra for them to open up the garage to put it in. Probably. I did like it, though, because you knew your stuff was in there. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about the recourse you have when something gets taken. I have seen, I guess maybe it was on Amazon, they take a picture of where they put your package. Mm-hmm. It was obvious it wasn't my door. They had delivered it to the wrong place. And then I didn't know where to find which house it was. Correct. I didn't know how to and now, whenever I order from Amazon, there's always a notation that says, packages have not arrived at this location. Do you want to deliver it somewhere else? I'm like, no, just deliver it to my house. You guys were wrong.
Exactly.
But I don't know the recourse. So I don't know what I can do as a consumer if my package is taken. Who's responsible? Is it the delivery service? Is it me? What
Correct. Well, I think that if you're able to prove that it was delivered and someone stole it from your front yard or your porch, that you could make a police report.
So it goes to police, not back to the center.
Exactly. But no, I would definitely tell whoever Amazon or whoever also to report it to them as well.
Well, I don't want to be cynical, but do the constables and police really have time for this?
So unless you have a good license plate number or a good camera system where you're able to identify the person, then I think that is something that, we could put on our social media and see if you know this person, give us a call or identifying that person.
It's just gone, and you have no proof.
If it's gone, I mean, and there's no evidence and no cameras and no license plate, and it's going to be very difficult to resolve
down.
That. Yes.
So, Constable Trevino, then how can people protect themselves before it gets to that point?
I think just taking the high road and just doing what you have to do to protect your packages. I know a lot of people, they have gates, they have fences, and they don't lock them. So at least take that first step of deterrence. It's just that one more deterrence. And some of these new homes that are going up have these little white picket fences. They're no more than 3 feet high, So, I mean, that is easy. And they still have a lock on them, too. So, I mean, at the very least, lock it, but they're easy to jump, and we've seen that all over social media.
An old tip I've always heard is have your package delivered somewhere where somebody's there to receive it. If
you know that you're not, if you know you're going to be working all day long and you know you're not going to be home, then yes, try to have your package delivered somewhere else. Amazon, my assistant was just telling me, Amazon has these hubs, and I've seen them like at Walgreens and CVS, where they can deliver them there, and then you can go pick them up there. Right. So that is another way of
and the other thing is our neighborhood, we're close to Westheimer. In our neighborhood, as neighbors, we'll say, hey, I see porches. Do you want me to move them in for you? Or
be vigilant for your neighbors.
You're really coming together as a community to say, I'm looking out for you.
Yes, correct.
Look out for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that.
Or if you know your neighbor or someone 2 houses down that you know really well, and say, hey, if you see the package, can you collect it for me until I get home? Or
for sure.
Yeah. And Frank both bring up the point, too, that we have a lot more of these cameras and a lot more surveillance things and all of that, but they're still brazen. They still go up and take packages. Are we surprised that the proliferation of this going on, even with all this technology we have to watch it? And does that speak more to those that are committing these crimes thinking, like you said, the police aren't going to do anything?
They're not going to do anything.
I put a scarf around my face, I walk up, I'll just take the package.
I just think that is so bold of them. And that's not their first rodeo either.
Yeah,
I'm sure that is what they do for a living, probably.
Yeah.
If they do get caught, what's the penalty?
Well, trespassing and stealing, theft. Depending on the value of the property of whatever they're stealing,
Right.
So,
and I'm guessing most of the value is under $500.
And they don't even know what's in the package. Right. So they're banking on something. I guess something that they can use, they can sell or pawn.
I've also heard that they target smaller packages because they think smaller things are more expensive.
Well, aren't they?
And yes, we do like small packages delivered to my house.
Something in blue, maybe.
A ribbon on there, yes.
If anyone has a question for Constable Silvia Trevino, give us a call, 713-440-8870. I don't want to run out of time without talking about other issues we have this time of year. I know that some of the malls had big problems with people putting stuff in their trunk, and either that gets stolen out of there or getting followed home and robbed in their driveway.
Even in front of their home.
Yes.
They park their vehicles on the street because they probably have to. They don't have a garage, especially with a lot of these new developments going up now. They have to park in the street, But at the very least, lock your doors and don't leave anything visible in the front seat or the back seat because they are, it's just so easy.
If you think you're being followed home.
Oh, that's another thing.
What should you do?
Yes. If you think you're being followed, then don't go straight home.
Go
to the police station.
Yeah,
go to a police station. I mean, there's substations, just everywhere. Or go to the nearest, grocery store or convenience store. Make a phone call. Call the police from there.
Would it make any sense to go through a drive-through, like go through the Whataburger and say, I'm being followed by the people behind me. Call the police right now.
Well, sure. I mean, if you're desperate and you that is your only option there, then yes, do whatever is available to you.
If you do it on your own cell phone, they're going to 911's going to say, "Where are you?" And you're like, "Well, I'm driving around Westheimer. I'm not quite sure." That's why I say if you go somewhere like a Whataburger or a Wendy's and you say, I'm at the Whataburger on Westheimer.
There you go.
This is what I need to tell the police.
Yeah, because you're going to have to tell them where you're at. So give them as much information as you can about the description of the vehicle or whoever is following you.
So don't just drive around hoping somebody will help.
Correct. Yeah, you got to let somebody know where you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Interesting, right? Because I think that in theory, it sounds like if you knew somebody was following you, you immediately would be like, yes, somebody's following me. But how often do we second guess ourselves? And then I'm like, is this person really following me or are they not? Do I really want to call the police? Because I feel like calling 911 feels very emergency. You are escalating this to the max.
Yeah.
Is there?
No, I think if there is any doubt in your mind, you dial the 911.
Yeah.
You call. Yeah.
Coming from Constable Trevino.
You did mention, like at the malls, I don't know if y'all saw that video just recently on social media where the lady came out of the mall. She went to her vehicle. She had some packages, and And I brought my prop because I wanted to
Yes.
show you. You know, all the women think that it is really nice to wear your designer purse and just have the strap on your shoulder like so, you know. But it's a crossbody purse, so at least give it a little bit more deterrence and put it across your body, you know.
Yeah.
But she had it on her shoulder, and the car that was parked next to her, there was a driver. It looked like there was a passenger inside. There was definitely the passenger on the back seat. And like he drove up, and she was busy putting all her bags in the back seat of her car. And he just kind of eased up, opened the back door, and just pulled her
Snatched her
purse off
purse.
her shoulder and took off.
Do we still have an issue with gasoline stations? Like people will be pumping gas and they wouldn't lock their doors, and the women's purse will get stolen off the front seat.
True
Is
that.
still a
Or-
big problem?
yes, definitely.
So that's still
Leaving your
happens?
purse, yeah. And even, you know, me in my uniform, when I go fill up my county vehicle, I lock the doors, you know, because I know I'm going to be on the other side of the vehicle, you know, pumping gas. And, you know, now these gas places have these videos going on and the music is real loud. And, you know, you're not going to be able to see on the other side of your vehicle, especially if you have an SUV.
Or they have
you know?
TVs in the gas pump, and you have to listen to somebody give the weather.
Correct. So, you know, yeah. So, you know, either turn off your vehicle, where you're supposed to turn off your vehicle, lock the doors, and if there's anything of value, if you have your purse, just, you know, take it with you. So don't leave it in the front
We're talking
seat.
with Harris County Precinct 6 Constable Silvia Trevino, and our phone number, 713-440-8870. On the line, Henry from the Heights has a question for you. Henry, what's on your mind? You're going to have to pop on your headphones to hear Henry.
Okay.
And Henry, take it away.
Yeah, it's not really a question, more of just a comment or potentially a solution. The porch piracy, we've had that in the Heights here for a long time, and we came up with a concept. It's called the holiday poo box. And so what we do is we take all the dog poop from our yard, load it up in a box, seal it back up, and leave it on the porch. And we're not having a big impact, but I think if everybody that's listening to this created their own holiday poo box, we'd at least have a bunch of these thieves opening boxes of poo over the next
That
month.
is hilarious. I did see that on social media. But
The holiday poo box, if everybody does it, you know, we're not going to
thinking
solve
a
the
small
problem.
impact still has a big impact on a poo box.
I don't know who wants to go through to
Henry.
that extreme. Exactly.
But, you know, Constable Trevino, he brings up a good point. Should people be setting out their own traps?
To catch them.
Yeah, and I guess that just all depends on how far you want to go with that trap, you know, legally
A
also.
beautiful
so,
idea.
Yeah.
But I would think almost that's with the assuming that it's the same person returning again and again, and you're punishing them for
Yes.
doing it. Where it seems to
Correct.
me, from how I watch this, these are just opportunists, and it could be anyone at any point. So if you got one day, doesn't mean the next one knows that the first. They're not a network of porch
No,
pirates.
exactly.
They're just
True that.
greedy porch pirates.
Yes,
I always thought they were essentially a lot of times repeat offenders that know what they're doing.
Exactly. They target the homes or the areas of they know that are receiving a lot of packages, and they've already made the rounds around that neighborhood. I agree.
We have another call. Joseph from Tomball's on the line. Joseph, what is your question or comment?
Hello, mi familia. You guys are my family now, you know.
Thank you.
Same, Joseph.
Okay, here's what happened, though. I think it goes deeper than that. We have to think about the wild scope of the situation with social media and Facebook market. These people are not stealing one packages. You know, they work in 8 hours driving all the neighborhood because Amazon is out there, FedEx is out there, UPS is out there. They drop in packages. It's not one package. They're collecting the packages and then resell them on social media. For you, as I hear you say, it's one package, but it's not.
No.
These people have tons of packages.
Oh, absolutely.
How I know, I used to do delivery for appliance company, and I used to go to this house, and they got massive boxes of Amazon in the garage. I'm like, how these people are buying all this stuff? And then all of a sudden, no, they're not buying it. They're stealing it. They resell them on Facebook Market. So
I agree.
We have to be a lot of investigation on that in order to stop it. But social media is playing a big role on it.
All right, Joseph, my brother, thank you.
Yeah. But also he brings up social media.
Well, to his point, we got a text from Jen in Clear Lake saying they had a porch pirate. They caught him on camera, found him on social media, reported him to the police. They caught him. He'd stolen thousands of packages. So this certainly does happen. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Yeah, and they do. They'll have them in their garage, and that's what they're doing. They're turning around and selling them or pawning them or, almost making a business out of it.
Another call from Paul in Midtown. Paul, welcome to Hello Houston. What's your thought?
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Hey, just got another one for you guys. There was a story on one of the local channels last week where a home got in Bel Air got ripped off because the thieves, they were in mass, but they had a Wi-Fi scrambler to disengage the cameras. They got a picture of the guy, but he put it right up against the camera and killed the cameras. They went in, ripped off the house and whatnot. And then another thing, like what you guys already heard, what I heard was make sure, hit your neighbors. Hey, if you want me to get your packages, let me hold them for you when you come back from vacation or your weekend or whatnot.
Correct.
But yeah, that's when you got to, that was one, I was shocked when I saw that one on the news.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, they're becoming more tech savvy.
Exactly.
And, you might have all the cameras and things. So, Constable, what are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. And not only that, some people have cameras, and I don't think I have the best cameras either. I know that we had an issue. We have a little league that's close to our house, and so a lot of the parents park their vehicles in front of our house, And so somebody called my house and said, hey, there's a man outside. He's trying to get a hold of y'all. So we went out there, and he said, I noticed you had cameras. He said, I was just wondering, somebody stole a package from the front seat of my vehicle. And I said, oh, yeah, we do have cameras. Well, we'll check. And I said, well, what did they steal? And he said, my gun.
Oh,
my God.
Wow.
I said, your gun? He had it in a pouch. And he said, I don't know. I just left it on the front seat. I just forgot it. He says, by the time I came back, it was gone. And so sure enough, we looked at our cameras, and we don't have the best camera system, but we saw 3 males coming down the street, and they were just walking down the street, and one of them veered off to the side and decided to check the vehicle to see if the door was open, and sure enough, it was. And he just reached in there, got that. It was obvious, the gun pouch, and he showed it to his friends, and they took off running, but we weren't able to see, distinct
features,
characteristics.
If I had to sum up what I have learned today, stay vigilant.
Yes.
Don't leave things out and exposed. If you can, have your packages delivered somewhere where someone can receive them.
Correct.
If not, try these new technologies of the Ring, the access to the garages and the drop boxes. You can buy drop boxes for your house where they know to put things in, or the lockers that they have available. And always feel free to contact law enforcement and say, hey, something's going on here, or I'm worried, or I'm concerned.
Correct.
Did I get all my points?
And yes, and just do what you can, as much as you can, to prevent these thefts from going on. Yeah, and do what you can when you're at the mall also to for your safety. Sure. If in doubt, don't go to your car. If you see something suspicious, go back inside the mall. Do not leave your packages where they're visible inside your vehicle. If it's that important to you, go home, drop them off, and then come back to the mall and shop till you drop.
Harris County Precinct 6 Constable Silvia Trevino, thank you for joining us today.
Oh my
on
goodness,
Hello
thank you
Houston.
so much for
happy
having me.
holidays.
Thank absolutely. You. Are y'all ready for Christmas?
Yes, no, I'm not.
Yes, no.
I've got to find something to steal.
It depends if my packages are still outside my house when I get home.
All right, coming up,
Thank you so much.
A look back on the year's hurricane season, or lack thereof, and what we expect for next year. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Houston Public Media, in partnership with Texas Southern University, brings to you The Vibe. R&B, hip-hop, and neo-soul. Music that resonates with all ages. The Vibe on 88.7 HD3 and on the Houston Public Media app.
I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have supported public radio and TV for decades.
We count on it every day for trusted news, culture, and great entertainment.
With federal funding eliminated, Houston Public Media faces real challenges. That's why we're giving to the Resiliency Fund.
Let's keep public media thriving by the people and for the people.
Donate now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film.
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
Books.
The detail is amazing.
Art.
There's all the personal stuff.
Theatre.
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
Music.
The dance floor is made for dancing.
And everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Well, remarkably, the United States made it through the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season without any U.S. landfalls, and the Gulf remained quiet as well, with only one small storm that moved into Mexico. That was about it. So most hurricane forecasts, as we were talking about earlier, predict how many storms we're expecting in a given season. However, one hurricane forecaster only predicts where those hurricanes will go, not the number of them. Last March, before we even were on the air, I spoke to Dale Link about the then upcoming 2025 hurricane season. That was for my Friends of Frank series. And he told me, he said, I'm not predicting any Gulf hurricanes. We're not going to have any. And I thought, Dale, you're crazy. But he was exactly right. We had none. Dale's back with us this morning to tell us how he comes up with his predictions. And already he has a forecast for us for the upcoming 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. So Dale, welcome back to Hello Houston. Can you hear
Welcome.
me? Okay.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. So if anyone would like to join the conversation or has a question for Dale, 713-440-8870. I guess congratulations on a really good forecast.
Well, thank you.
How do you come up with this? You've been doing this I know since the 80s, but you've really been digging into it for at least 3 decades. What's your accuracy rate and how do you go about with your predictions?
Well, I just copy Mother Nature. It's pretty simple. Mother Nature repeats every year or 2 years, depending on the location. I do 4 regions in the Northern Hemisphere, but that's all I do. I just copy. 1 year, like this past year in the Gulf of Mexico, for instance, there were no systems at all. So next year, 2026. I have no zones forecast, but that doesn't mean, there'll probably be tropical storms, tropical depressions, and maybe a weak hurricane that'll hit in the Gulf next year. But I only forecast strong hurricanes, 95 miles an hour or more in a duration of 25 hours or more. So there might be less than that. And if those storms develop this in 2026, I'll use those storm systems to forecast 2027.
So to be
that's how I do it.
Yeah, to be clear, that's basically a Category 2 or stronger that you forecast.
Correct. And the reason being is I think it's because of global warming, because the last 4 or 5 years, the storm systems have increased that I use to forecast with. And I talked with Dr. Klotzbach at the hurricane conference this year, and he has the same problem he forecasts the number of hurricanes, and he said he's been having to do the same. He's having to change his forecasting methods because of global warming. So we're experiencing that, and that's why I just forecast the stronger storms.
It's interesting, Dale, that you talk about that, looking at the historical landfalls and, you know, the level of storm that you specifically forecast. And I'm curious, as somebody who has been following this for such a long time, not only do you have global warming, but you also have other meteorologists using AI in different systems. So when you are pivoting, looking at global warming, are you still going off of that data from just the landfall, or now are you a little bit of a hunch and a little bit of AI? How does that work?
Oh, okay. I don't use AI. I'm not saying that it won't help, but I go by what Mother Nature gives me, and it's a 1 or 2 year method. Mm-hmm. Some areas like Eastern United States and Eastern Asia, I use a 2-year method. So if there's a storm in that area, then in 2 years I forecast that area, and that's what I use, what I call a 2-year method. And then, like the Gulf of Mexico and Mexico itself, I use a 1-year method.
Why?
In other words, whatever happens this year, I forecast it for next year. It's real simple.
It is simple, Dale, and your accuracy rate is as good as anybody's. So why don't more people follow your lead and do the same thing?
I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. I think I'm not a meteorologist. Maybe I'm not accepted. It doesn't seem plausible when I first started on all this. It took many years for me to believe in it myself. And I go by the facts, you know, the accuracies, and it just doesn't seem big. But anyway, I can't answer that question. I don't know why other people don't realize it. It's been on the internet since 2000, and it's been pretty accurate. And this past year, over 4 regions, I had 14 hits and 2 misses. That's 88% accuracy for 4 different regions in the Northern Hemisphere. So,
and
considering, it's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah, 88% considering and really you predicted that South Carolina was going to get hit, and Imelda was going right to South Carolina and got pulled out to Ciba and Berto at the last minute. So I give you credit for that.
Yeah, well, Chantel hit there at 60 miles an hour. That was a tropical storm. And also there was a nor'easter that went through that same zone. And that's with mine, when I forecast, it's not always a hurricane. It can be a tropical storm that passes through. I can't predict that perfect. I just say there's going to be storms in that area. And in the Carolinas there where that zone was, there were 2 storms that did pass through it, but there wasn't a hurricane. And you're right about Emil, that, was headed that way and then got pulled off.
You talk about your success rate at about 88%. So I'm curious from
that's this year. Regions.
In that 12%, when you look at that where you missed the mark, what do you learn from that? And how does that change how you look to the next year?
Okay. There's no change. I have no reason. I mean, I look back and see, but it doesn't line up with my forecasting. Okay. They're just misses, flat out misses. I have no reason to know why. Maybe AI could help in that case, but I don't.
Yeah. Curious, Dale, did the federal government cuts of NOAA change the ability to predict at all, or not at all?
What? Say that again. I didn't understand that.
Did the federal government cuts to NOAA change the ability to predict the way you calculate things?
No, I have nothing to do with the government or with the National Hurricane Center, if that's what you're referring to.
I do want to make sure. I want to make sure everybody knows your website, DaleLink, DALELINK.com, if they want to know more about your forecasting methodology, and if they want to see your forecast for all over the world, they can see it there. And if I heard you right, you said no Gulf hurricanes for 2026.
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
I thought I sent you a forecast.
You did. I'm just making sure everybody hears it.
Dale Link is an engineer who forecasts hurricane and typhoon landfalls. Dale, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll continue discussing today's top stories. We'll also be joined by actors currently starring in the Alley Theater's A Christmas Carol. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Twin Liquors, a Texas family-owned home for wine and spirits since 1937. With over 100 locations across the state, Twin Liquors is proud to be part of the community. Orders available online at twinliquors.com for delivery or pickup.
71 degrees with just a few clouds at the University of Houston. I'm Tiffany Taylor. Sunny and clear through the end of the week. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Rod Paige, a former HISD superintendent and U.S. Secretary of Education, passed away Tuesday morning at the age of 92. We'll discuss his legacy with his former Press Secretary Terry Abbott. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also be joined by Kat Robinson, Vice Chair of the Houston Association of Realtors, who will break down the yearly Houston housing numbers and what it all means for homeowners and buyers.
And I'm Ernie Manous. Plus, we'll also chat with local actors from the Alley Theater's annual production of A Christmas Carol, here to share with us a little bit about the show and to bring some holiday spirit into the studio.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A federal judge in California has ruled that the Trump administration must stop its deployment of the National Guard to Los Angeles and return control of the troops to the state. It's the latest in a series of legal rulings against President Trump's deployments. NPR's Kat Lonsdorf has more.
Trump seized control of California's Guard back in June, against Governor Gavin Newsom's wishes, and deployed more than 4,000 troops to the streets of Los Angeles to protect federal immigration facilities and officers. That number has dropped to around 100 still in the city, but the administration has extended that federalization several times, most recently until February, saying it's still necessary. The administration also attempted to send California troops into Portland, Oregon. In his ruling to end the federalization, U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer said that the administration's argument to, quote, hold unchecked power to control state troops would wholly upend the federalism that is at the heart of our system of government. Kat Lonsdorf, NPR News, Washington.
At the end of today's final meeting of 2025, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to have approved a third interest rate cut since September, which would make it a little cheaper to borrow more money. NPR's Scott Horsley reports on why another reduction seems likely and why now.
We have seen a real slowdown in the job market in recent months, and a number of Fed policymakers are very concerned about that. Over the summer, we actually saw a net loss of jobs in June and in August. The unemployment rate's been inching higher. Fed Governor Chris Waller's been saying for months now that the warning signs are flashing on the job market, and the central bank should lower interest rates to prevent a further deterioration.
NPR's Scott Horsley reporting. The Nobel Peace Prize for Maria Corina Machado has been accepted by her daughter. The Venezuelan opposition leader did not arrive in time for the ceremony, but is expected to make her first public appearance in Oslo soon after 16 months in hiding. Here's Julia Carneiro.
Ana Corina Sosa Machado received the prize next to a large picture of Maria Corina Machado framed by flowers. She gave voice to her mother's speech. Machado, the Nobel Peace Laureate, said state terrorism forced 9 million people to flee Venezuela and tried to bury the will of the people, but they did not surrender.
Venezuela will breathe again. We will open prison doors and watch thousands who were unjustly detained step into the warm sun, embraced at last by those who never stopped fighting for them.
Machado honored political prisoners and the millions of anonymous people who risked their lives for Venezuela, saying the prize and the future belongs to them. For NPR News, I'm Julia Carneiro.
At last check on Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 219 points, or nearly 0.5%. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian.
The Democratic primary race challenging Texas Senator John Cornyn for his seat in the U.S. Senate will look a little different next year compared to previous years. That's according to Brandon Rottinghouse at the University of Houston. He says the matchup between State Senator James Tallarico and U.S. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett does not feature a moderate candidate.
I think that's really a win for progressives because now they have two pretty solid candidates who are from that progressive wing of the party. There's not really a moderate choice here. Typically, moderates were doing pretty well the last decade or so in those primaries statewide for Democrats. This is going to break that.
Rottinghouse was a guest on Houston Matters. He says next year will be a stress test for progressives to see if they can compete in a general election. Over 90,000 cubic yards of sand was recently added to West Galveston Beach, and there's more to come. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Galveston District is using dredged sand from the Galveston Ship Channel to re-nourish nearly 2 miles of Galveston beachfront. Carlos Gomez is a spokesperson for the district. He says coastal erosion on the west end of the island averages nearly 7 feet a year.
Coastal erosion on the west end of the island averages nearly 7 feet per year, and things are made worse when storms like Hurricane Beryl hit the island. The added sand is all part of a project to help combat erosion and protect the Texas coast from tropical storm and hurricane damage. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Galveston District is using dredged sand from the Galveston Ship Channel to re-nourish nearly 2 miles of Galveston beachfront. Carlos Gomez is a spokesperson for the district.
So the more sand we have there on the beachfront property, the more of a buffer we have so that when a storm does hit, it's not as severe.
Gomez says they're looking to have all the added sand placed by the end of January 2026. From the Galveston County Bureau, I'm Juliana Washburn, News 88.7.
Right now, 71 degrees under mostly clear skies on the UH campus.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Bayer. Bayer is dedicated to delivering breakthroughs that save lives and feed the world using the scientific process. Learn more at sciencedelivers.com. This is NPR.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Welcome back to the second hour of Hello Houston. Whether you're joining us listening to your radio through 88.7 or joining us on YouTube, we want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, hello, YouTubers.
Hello.
Oh, the YouTubers. They're staying active today.
Yeah.
Yes. And be sure to follow us on socials. You can go to hellohouston.show on Instagram. And as well, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah. So we were talking about Dale Link, who we just had on.
Yes, that was a really interesting conversation, Frank, because something that I found so often, everything is geared to technology, everything is geared to AI, and he really just puts pen and paper, and it's a 2-year process. And, I like the old-fashioned way.
Well, there's an old-fashioned saying that that climate is what you expect, weather is what you get. And so just like if you were planning a snow vacation, you'd expect snow in February or March in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just that's what you expect. We expect certain things in summer, spring, winter, and fall, even though weather sometimes happens instead. So he goes by that philosophy of climate is what it is. And there may be global warming playing a role, but what happened in the recent past is likely to repeat itself in the future. And so an 88% accuracy. He's not perfect.
That's pretty good.
But that's pretty good, given the fact that he said that he really does not use any type of AI tools. And I think that when we interview somebody like that, I look at that generation and I think to myself, we're going to have a whole new generation where they're learning AI and technology, but are they really getting the full ins and outs of putting pen to paper?
Well, and it'll be interesting. AI certainly is good right now at telling us where a storm may go once that storm has formed.
Right.
But here we are in December of 2025, and he's already saying in the Atlantic hurricane season for next year that he's not expecting any major storms in the Gulf. So,
but can't you program what he's doing into AI and create?
Maybe he would love. I mean, he's an older gentleman. He would love for someone to take over his methodology.
Yes.
I'm not going to do it. It's way too time.
Oh, come on,
now,
Frank.
So Dale Link,
he's a retired engineer. He has lots
Frank,
of time.
So Dale Link, though, he's not a meteorologist.
No, he's an engineer.
He's an engineer.
But don't forget Ted Fujita of the Fujita tornado scale, engineer. Saffir Simpson of the Saffir-Simpson wind scale, engineer. Engineers understand wind and understand what wind does. And so I think his education and then wind patterns brought him into looking at what hurricanes do and where they might go because of the wind patterns.
But you know what I want to talk to? I want to talk to a meteorologist. So Frank, tell us what the weather's going to be like.
It's going to be beautiful today. It's a little warmer.
This is what we're going to get, not what we're expecting.
Low 70s today, high 72. 50s tonight. Still sweater weather. Of course, every day for Ernie is sweater weather.
It's so cold in here. And if some of our offices are along this one wall of windows, and for some reason they never turn off the AC.
No, they
so in the middle of the
awake.
winter, when Celeste and I, we spent the night here at the station during the snowstorms last year, and we were in those offices, and they were so cold because the AC blew the whole time. The entire city's freezing to death. We had nice AC on, and we were wrapped in blanket on blanket. Yeah. So I always have
I just remember Ernie. I walked by his office, and I see him in his office on his little mattress.
Inflatable
And he was watching
my little iPad having to read.
in bed. But you know what? Coming up on Hello Houston, the vice chair of the Houston Association of Realtors, Kat Robinson, will join us to break down the yearly Houston housing numbers and what it all means for homeowners and buyers. But first, the headlines.
Yep, we're going to start off with, it's sad news. Former HISD superintendent and one-time U.S. Secretary of Education Rod Paige has passed away at the age of 92. Paige made history as the first black person and the first school superintendent to lead the nation's education department, serving from 2001 to 2005 under President George W. Bush. Before that, he headed the Houston Independent School District, HISD, and later served as the Dean of the College of Education at Texas Southern University. As Secretary of Education, Paige helped launch the landmark No Child Left Behind Act, a sweeping reform that reshaped national education policy by raising accountability standards for public schools nationwide. Later in his career, Paige co-founded programs to improve urban schooling and in 2016-17 served as the interim president of his alma mater, Jackson State University. The city of Houston and the nation's educational community are mourning his passing. And to join us to tell us more about the legacy of Rod Paige is his former press secretary, Terry Abbott. If you'd like to join the conversation, if you have memories, reactions, give us a call, 713-440-8870. Hello there, Rod. I'm sorry,
Terry,
Rod Paige. Hello there, Terry.
Hey, that's good to talk to y'all. It is a sad day.
It
but
is.
It's a great day to celebrate Secretary Paige, too. This man was a giant in education in this country and in Houston. You could look around all over the place in Houston at the schools and see part of the impact that he had and building new schools for kids. And I think his greatest impact was in setting high expectations and believing that children from poverty from all homes could learn. You know, there was a lot of folks in education for a long time who just have said and thought that, there's unfortunately poor kids that just don't have the same opportunities to learn. And Rod Paige said that is not true. Remember that he grew up in segregated schools in Mississippi, the son of a sharecropper. And he knew that education could lift children out of poverty and bring families to a better place. And he lived that every day of his life. That man was a godsend, and we all owe him a great debt.
Well, Rod Paige also is known for that No Child Left Behind Act, but there were critics of that, and there still are to some degree. How did he see it, and how have people interpreted it?
Well, he saw it as part of, unfortunately, that same old belief system in the past that, well, you just couldn't have high expectations of some children because they didn't have the same opportunities that other kids did. Mm-hmm. And he just said that was BS. He never believed that, and his life showed that wasn't true. So he was a champion for No Child Left Behind because it set standards, it established accountability, and required that children have an opportunity, a real opportunity to learn. And now, because of Rod Paige and the school board there in Houston, children who are coming from disadvantaged homes cannot be hidden anymore in the numbers. The schools have to try to make sure to teach them, and that's a sea change that happened under Rod Paige.
Hey, Terry, it's Frank Billingsley. Thank you for joining us, Terry.
You bet, Frank.
And, Rod Paige is Secretary of Education. I know that other countries would study our system because we do a great job of educating so many people from so many different cultures and so many different backgrounds, as you say, different poverty and socioeconomic levels. I know you can't speak for him, but what do you think Rod's view would be of the current dissolution of the Department of Education?
Well, he was torn when he went to Washington to be Secretary of Education because he loved Houston and he loved the school district there. But he felt it was a great honor to be asked to go with President Bush, and he went. And he said about the process of making the Department of Education more responsive to schools, and his idea was to make it all about what's best for children and not what's best for politicians and not what's best for unions across the country. He focused on children. And so I think today, with a situation with the Department of Education, his idea would be keep everything focused on the kids, and whatever form that has to take, then let's do that. But as long as we keep the resources focused on the children, we'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, Terry, you yourself were always a great spokesperson for HISD. I'm just curious, what are you doing now?
Well, Frank, I retired a couple of years ago. I'm living back in my home state of Alabama. Cheers, my Crimson Tide, and but missing Houston. I lived in Texas for 20 years, and I just miss everybody out there. It's a great place. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all this morning, Frank, and it's good to hear your voice. I always admired your work.
Thank you so much. I grew up in Birmingham, so we're sort of brothers in a way.
I didn't know that. How about that?
How about that?
All right. Well, there you go. Then I'll count you as one of us.
Terry, thank you so much for sharing with us. Rod Paige was a true milestone in his career and for redeveloping the way we looked at education both locally and nationally, and we're lucky to have had him. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for remembering him today.
Absolutely, Terry. Thank you. All right, and speaking of education, applications open Tuesday for Houston ISD's School Choice Program for the 2026-27 school year. The program allows families the chance to send their children to a district campus outside of their local neighborhood. The first phase of the annual program is underway. Applications will close February 27th. Parents and guardians can file a single application on the HISD website to apply to as many as 10 different schools in the district. Families rank the schools they want their children to attend, and HISD then runs a lottery to determine which students get spots at those campuses. Students who don't get a seat are waitlisted at all schools they ranked higher than the campus where they were initially offered a spot. HISD is hosting a series of school choice fairs through April, with the next event scheduled this Saturday at the Mickey Leland College Prep Academy. So it's referred to school choice. The HISD program is separate from the statewide school voucher-like program that was passed into law earlier this year by Texas legislatures. Applications for education savings accounts, which allow families to use state funding for private school and homeschool education, are slated to open in February. So we're like the only people that do this around the state, aren't we, Celeste?
Yes.
What do you think about school choice? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I mean, I think it's great that you have opportunity and choice out there, but I also think that to help, and I could be a little old-fashioned my thinking on this, is that you want to improve the schools you have, not feel like the schools aren't working, so go somewhere else, because then the school that's there in your community doesn't get lifted up. But on the other hand of it, you don't want to sacrifice the success of your child because the school there isn't what you need for your child. So it's an how do you decide, Celeste?
Well, I think that as a parent who has I have a child at HISD, it's interesting because I think that, yes, obviously the more options we can provide for parents within the public education system, I'm speaking specifically not about school vouchers, but just about school choice within the public school situation, public organization and system, the more options you can provide for parents, the better. However, and I think that there are a lot of parents that see this, you want to pick a school that's going to align well with your child. And the point about the school choices there, for example, the middle school that we're zoned to might not have the best art program, but yet there are schools that might have really great art programs that Evelyn might want to go to that.
Right. Or a magnet school.
Or a magnet school. And so I think that for middle school and high school choice is great. Now, it can widen the gap in an increase inequality, right? Because you'll have parents that will go through the formal process of filling out the paperwork and have the option of driving their child a little bit further out, whereas some communities say the school right by you is the school right by you, and that's it.
Well, I remember when parents would actually move to certain parts of town just
so they could have the right schools.
So they could go to right. And I think people still move into West University for exactly that reason. I don't think West U is part of this. They're their own system. And if you don't live in West U.
No, West U Elementary is through HISD.
So now you can go to West U if you don't live there, if you're part of this lottery system?
No, I think it's yes and no. So the lottery system does have, there are preferentials. Like, for example, if you're gifted and talented, so T.H. Rogers only accepts gifted and talented students. So I have friends whose kids, instead of sending them to Tanglewood, which is the regular public school in our area, they would send their child, if they're in the gifted and talented program, they would opt in to get into T.H. Rogers.
So, I mean, it's a good program, especially if you qualify. Yeah. But it can't just be lottery. I mean, you can't just say, okay, we're going to send this kid to T.H. Rogers because he wants to go there. Don't they have to have some other qualification of at least being artistic?
You get preferential, not preferential, but you have like more points towards you if, for example, you live within the zip code, if you have a sibling at the school. There's a list of ways that parents can do this.
Yeah, I think it's good in that it makes more opportunity out there. It's bad because I think like there is disparity in the way people are able and resources individuals have. Maybe you don't have the most attentive guardian or parent. Maybe they don't have the time to do all of this that some other parent does. So does your child then end up with less opportunity? I don't think there's a perfect system, but I do think it's a good idea that if you have an affinity for something, you can move your child to a place that matches that affinity, like what you were saying, Frank. So there you go. There's my opinion on it. Without children in the race, that's how I feel.
Right. You know, Dick Van Dyke turns 100.
I am so excited about this. I would call him Don Van Dyke because I'm getting names wrong all the time today. But Dick Van Dyke, I know that name.
Turns 100 on December 13th, and he says he feels really good. In a recent conversation with People magazine, he credits his attitude for both his age and the fact that he has no pain, no discomfort. The actor explained that while there were always things and people he didn't like or approve of, he, quote, never really was able to work up a feeling of hate, and certainly not a white heat kind of hate. He compared himself with his father, who was constantly upset by the state of things in his life, noting to people that his father died at 73. Van Dyke believes avoiding that emotional pattern is one of the chief things that kept him going. Modern research appears to back up this idea that emotional states play a meaningful role in a long-term health. Studies on aging adults show that anger can heighten inflammation in the body, raising levels of markers like IL-6 and increase risk of illness. What do you think is the secret to living longer? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
Not dying. Just kidding. So you know what he also said, though, is he takes walks a lot because he wants to keep those legs going. Well, at 100 years old, to be able to walk on your own without a walker or a cane is remarkable.
Are you kidding? Even look back at the that Mary Poppins movie that came out a couple years back. He was in that because he had been in the original Mary Poppins, and he danced in it. And he was 96, something like that. He did his own dance number in it. So the man is unique. The man is a gift, and the man has taken care of himself in those regards. But he also had a bout with alcoholism earlier on in his career. And so it wasn't all just a healthy, good living. It's a lot of good genes. It's staying active. It's mindset. I tell you, I love Dick Van Dyke. I have loved him since I was young. The Dick Van Dyke Show, not one most kids would gravitate toward when we were growing up and you see the reruns on TV because it was black and white. It was a workplace comedy, which actually set the stage for the workplace comedies like Taxi and the Mary Tyler Moore Show that we've come to love. But it was a great show. And back when I was in college, every day I set my VCR and my tape to tape the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I had all 5 seasons on VHS tape. Thank God, DVDs came along.
And we did get a few YouTube comments as well, as we do have a call on the line. I'm going to read this YouTube comment, and then we'll go to the call. Charlie Parker, Texas says, I think school choice is good for the older kids, but my opinion, when they're younger, elementary, going to school with the kids in their neighborhood is very beneficial. Charlie, I completely agree. And what Charlie is speaking about is our topic earlier about applications open Tuesday for Houston ISD school choice program for next school year. Yep. And let's go to the lines. Sarah from Montrose. Sarah, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Hey, so my kids actually go to Baker Montessori, which is used to be the old Woodrow Wilson Montessori. And to Celeste's point, yes, there are different qualifications besides the lottery that you have to kind of accustom you kind of have to meet these qualifications if they're the sibling, et cetera. But we were lucky enough to get zoned to it. And so when we moved out of zone, we obviously had to do the school choice lottery. But here's what I found, kind of to what we were talking about, the inequality issue, and it is a real issue. At least with magnet schools, which is what a lot of the school choice, lottery goes towards, is to helping fill these magnet schools. I find that so many of us are actually low income. I'm low income. My family is low income. 30% of our school, we're in a very wealthy zip code, but 30% of our school are actually low-income students. And I actually find that for the people who are able to get their kids into one of these magnet schools, it actually motivates more community involvement. The parents and the community that are involved in our school, we have such a really nice little hybrid microcosm. And I know that's not the standard, but I do think it proves as evidence that you can be involved in your local physical community, and also these programs with school choice do kind of create these opportunities for intermingling and diversity within the student body that may not already exist. And also, one quick thing, I think Dick Van Dyke was the original Disney animatronic prototype. There is no way that man could help. Okay? That's what we're going to find out at the end. I love Dick Van Dyke, too. Bye, y'all.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you very much for that.
Sarah's on point. Sarah's absolutely on point.
About Dick Van Dyke?
Well, yes. No, but also about school choice and the how it brings different communities together that wouldn't necessarily intermingle, and it really does elevate everybody.
Yeah. A couple comments on Dick Van Dyke. One person wrote, good sleep helps. And what is a VCR? And I'd be lucky to make it to 60. So all of those are there. Congratulations. Good conversation on school choice, and also great to celebrate Dick Van Dyke. Okay, coming up on Hello Houston, the vice chair of the Houston Association of Realtors, Kat Robinson, is back with us. We're trying to break down the yearly Houston housing numbers and what it means for homeowners and buyers alike. This is News 88.7.
On Fresh Air, you'll hear conversations.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
Insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered, as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm gonna sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
In the waning days of Reconstruction, Edward McCabe sought to create a state governed by black people.
The law said that they were free, but the outcomes didn't really reflect the sort of abundant living that they wanted. And so that's what McCabe was fighting for.
The story of the man known as Black Moses. That's next time on Think.
Tune in tonight at 10 on News 88.7.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, presenting winter events across the island, including Holiday in the Gardens, Polar Express train ride, and attractions welcoming visitors during the holiday season. More information is available at visitgalveston.com. Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages. More information at genpro.com or by calling 713-597-3521.
And now back to Hello Houston. To share your thoughts on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
As 2025 draws to a close, it's a good time to take a step back and look at how the housing market in Houston has evolved over the past year. What trends shaped home prices, inventory, and buyer behavior, and what might the coming year hold? Joining us now is Kat Robinson, Vice Chair of the Houston Association of Realtors, to help us break down the numbers and what it all means for homeowners and buyers alike. Kat, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if you would like to join the conversation, if you have a question or comment for Kat, you can call or text 713-440-8870. So, Kat, I am holding the Houston Association of Realtors report that came out today, just a few moments ago at 11. So talk to us. If I'm holding this report, what do I need to be looking at?
So that report is really full of great information. It's kind of an overview of what has happened in the last 30 days, and then or the last month, and then we compare that to 2024's numbers. So that comparison gives us a nice pulse on what's happening, and then it also allows us to see trends as to what's going forward. So it's really good numbers.
So talk to us, what stood out to you most?
So I believe that, and here I'm going to go ahead and flip over. I printed them all because I know that you guys having this report is going to be detailed. So I think what stood out the most is that our prices are holding stable, which is fantastic. Our inventory is up, and that's allowing more buyers to get off the bench and get more activity or get involved into the market. So they're more likely to go ahead and write those offers. What's really cool is our pending numbers is up significantly. What does that mean? That means more buyers are under contract to purchase a home than there were last year. And so our numbers in December are going to be really high, which is exciting. And we'll get those numbers in the second week of January.
Really high December to December, or is it really high in general? Because I've often been told, I mean, I know people that had a house on the market were told by the realtor, take it off, don't put it on during the holidays, because things don't sell during the holidays. Wait until the new year, because you don't want to have a long number of days that your house has been listed.
Yeah, no, I think your commentary on that is very on point, because usually our market goes down because of the holidays. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. However, because of our interest rates softening and the inventory going up, more people are being able to, or they're taking advantage of the market.
Yeah, well, the fact that the inventory is up about 20%.
Yeah.
And this price is remaining steady. Usually when you have more inventory, then the sellers don't have as much power, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with a lot more inventory, buyers should have more options and more power. So I think you're right. The fact that the numbers aren't going down as far as purchase price, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you want to sell. Right now is a great time to sell because you're going to get really close to that list price.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why sellers have been so stubborn on sticking to the price, even if their inventory is just sitting there?
Right. Houston historically holds. So we understand that if a buyer is going to put in an offer $30,000 below our list price, and we know that it only takes $5,000 a month to hold the property, I think I'd rather hold a property 6 months before giving that $30,000 discount up front. So Houston will hold, and you'll see that because our average days on market went up 8% to 55 days.
I did have a friend who put an offer on a house. There were 9 offers.
Ooh.
And the seller said, okay, I'll take this offer, but no inspections, no quarreling, cash only. I mean, very demanding. Mm-hmm. Like if you want this house, it's an as-is, and it's for a price or above.
Right.
Is that common?
No. It is not in our current market. But, whenever you see, I'm going to use an illustration, when you see a national average of weather, right? If the national American temperature is 78 degrees, what is it going to be in Houston?
Right.
It's going to be 98. So I think the importance is that you know that Houston's market, real estate is hyper local. So you can go, if you go to Montrose, one block is significantly different than another block. It can be all commercial and bars and fun places to go, or it could be a beautiful tree-lined street with sidewalks. So the real estate market is nuanced, and you've got to really dial in on the specific space.
Since you brought that up, and I know you're here to talk about residential, but it seems like a lot of restaurants are really struggling with lease prices that are going up tremendously, from like $30,000 a month to $40,000 a month. Are you seeing that trend in commercial?
So I don't do commercial.
I know.
So I apologize, but I can definitely get you that information to you.
But looking at Houston specifically, and how you mentioned how we sit on our inventory historically, you heard Frank essentially saying how he had this friend trying to buy a house, and the seller was like, well, it's my market, it's my place, I'm having a lot of bids. Do we get overinflated, this overinflated sense of what our homes are actually worth? And did that come from the pandemic? And now we're still holding on to something that isn't necessarily still there.
Well, I think the pandemic has influences on pricing, but I will say that it is natural human instinct to think that whatever we own is worth more than what it is.
Especially if we've loved it and taken care of it for years.
And put money into it.
Lots of money into it.
So how
Mowed the yard, planted the garden.
How do you value that? Is it just you have to totally disassociate yourself with the property and simply look at what the value of the product is and forget? Like, that's the same problem I have when I clean my house. Every little object has life to it for me.
Yes.
So is that part of the job of a realtor, to tell you, stop your dreams?
We don't want to be dream killers by any means. We build the American dream. No, instead, I think the key is to focus on the data. The market data will speak to how much your home is worth, and look into the photos and how the condition is represented in the price, and how you need to compare apples to apples. Let's look at countertops. They're brand new quartz countertops. You have 1990s black granite. Like, there's value in the new trending things. So you have to be detailed, and you have to be realistic with what's happening. And you have to understand that a realtor's job isn't to hurt your feelings or tell you that urn of grandma's ashes on the fireplace need to be moved. It's nothing personal. Right. It's the data, and our goal is to help you achieve your goal of selling and moving forward.
No more Uba-Tuba countertops?
No.
No. But we're talking about the seller right now, and there is much more available housing inventory now than there was a year ago. And that's good for buyers, but not great for sellers. So my question becomes then, is it okay for the market to have that shift after the seller's market that we've had just a few years ago?
Yes, all markets are cyclical. So you're always going to see it shift from buyer to seller to buyer, and balanced in between. It's hard to tell where we are until it shifts. But in all of the reports over the last 24 or 12 months, it is saying that we're balanced, meaning that despite the high number of inventory, we're still getting a lot of sales. So we're accomplishing everyone's goals.
So you have great advice for buyers and sellers. When someone goes into a house and they're like struck, but maybe it's not the right neighborhood, or maybe they do need to consider that those countertops aren't right. How does a realtor, hopefully an ethical realtor, say, okay, slow your roll, let's take a real hard look at this property before we put a full price offer on it?
Yeah, no, that is definitely the realtor's role, is to keep things grounded.
Right.
So asking questions of, okay, how are you going to use this space? Can you imagine bringing groceries in from the garage or from the street? Or how do you feel about working from home? And really picture day-to-day lifestyle choices in that space, and then they'll start to begin filtering over from that ooh la la moment to like grounded, can make a logical decision.
A few years ago, we saw really incredible interest rates, and then they went pretty high or higher. And then you said about how they're comfortable right now.
Yeah.
When should you pull the trigger when watching the market like that? Do we say, well, they're bound to go down a little bit more, the economy looks a little troubled, interest rates may drop some, or can't play that game? What do you think? What do you advise?
I advise to buy a house when you are ready. You don't need to play the market on your home, your residence. It is a liability.
Huge difference in money over the lifetime of the property.
It does. That's why you can refinance, or certain lenders will allow you to recast. So once you've paid the equity down so far, you can recast the principal over the remaining term, and it will really reduce how much you pay in interest.
Do you have an opinion on a 50-year mortgage?
I personally do. I'm a fan of it. I think as housing prices continue to increase, it is pricing out the majority of Americans. So it is a tool to get people into ownership. They'll need to stay in that home longer, but trends are already showing that buyers are staying in homes longer. So why not offer a product that meets people where they are and what their goals are, and get them in as soon as possible? I think it's a great thing.
That's interesting. Well, I made the comment, you don't have to take a 30 or 50. You can kind of decide with a lender how many years you want to finance, can't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can go for 5-year, 15-year, or 30,
or 32, or 27.
The key is that you know that the mortgage is a tool to accomplish your goal of ownership. It'll also help you build equity. Every month you pay down that principal. It's like a forced savings account. So if your $500,000 property stays stable for 20 years, guess what? You've paid down that. So it is like a forced savings account. So when you do sell, you have that built up equity to use towards your next chapter.
Kat, we have seen some recent reports about out-migration from Texas and Houston. Is that going to be a problem locally for our local market?
So Houston is so diverse, and we are so happy to have everyone here. So I don't see it causing any issues with immigration. I think Houston is welcoming everyone, and our industries need people to fill those staff positions. So we're happy. Come on.
What makes a hot neighborhood, do you think?
I think schools are part of it. I think amenities and proximity to work are key things. I also believe that trees really make a big difference. So I saw in a report a couple years ago that on average, a big, beautiful tree in your front yard will increase your sales price or your property value by $7,000.
And if you're in the home for 50 years paying off your mortgage, you could have a huge tree.
Huge. You could have a forest.
Kat, the other thing that we see oftentimes, and we see it a lot in Houston, specific pockets, we see bubbles and busts in not just Houston, but everywhere. We see it in the Heights. But it seems to be okay. And you kind of talk about that balancing out. Why is that? And do you think that we'll be insulated from those dramatic shifts in the near term?
So let's talk about what a bubble is. And when a housing bubble starts is when prices continue to increase and the economy cannot sustain it. And so that causes a burst, right? Guess what? Houston's economy is so strong. We're so excited to host the World Cup next year. I'm seeing that everywhere on social media. The bust is not, there's no bubble in Houston at all. And it's shown by the stats. The data shows that we're stable. And if you look at the Greater Houston Partnership and what they're talking about in our economy, we're solid.
Nice.
Kat Robinson is the vice chair of the Houston Association of Realtors. Kat, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
And coming up, a preview of the Alley Theater's Christmas Carol. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
Scientists have discovered millions of new species on Earth since the 1700s, and we are averaging 17,000 more every year. But how many more are there?
The range of estimates of how many species are out there are from the low millions to the low trillions.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly. The mission to better understand life on our own planet, on All Things Considered, from NPR News.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, a lot of green energy tax credits are about to expire as the Trump administration shifts their focus away from things like solar panels and electric cars. Many Americans have already made the switch to save money for environmental reasons or both. So we want to know if going green matters to you, whether the government helps you do it or not. That's our question next time on The Middle.
Tune in Thursday night at 8 on News 88.7.
Support comes from Alley Theater, featuring A Christmas Carol, presented by UT Health Houston, a production inviting families to share the classic story of Ebenezer Scrooge and his Christmas transformation through December 28th. Tickets at alleytheater.org. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Good Reason Houston, with the 2025 Houston Public Education Snapshot, tracking how Houston's schools are preparing students today for a living wage tomorrow. Learn more at goodreasonhouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is widely celebrated and much anticipated classic. People love it, and they see it in a lot of different adaptations, and many enjoy visiting it year after year during the holidays. It's something that's truly tradition. The Alley Theater's annual production of A Christmas Carol is a long-standing Houston tradition that's been running every year since 1989. Wow. That's a long time, but it's changed, it shifts, and there's fresh cast members all the time. And then there's some that just make it their annual tradition being in it. Here to tell us more about this year's production, which is running through December 28th, is Brandon Hearnsberger.
Hello.
Adam Gibbs.
Hello, hello.
And Dylan Godwin.
Thanks for having us.
They are all in this year's production, as I've already mentioned. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to join the conversation, and Celeste is making this a party, so if you'd like to join the party, give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I truly am so happy to have you all here today. But, I was waiting for some accents, some top hats, a little, no?
Mutton you wanted this to be a costume show?
No. Let her stick on mutton chops.
No, but
in my trunk if you want me to go grab them.
Hurry up. Come back in character. We want this. Christmas Carol, truly a tradition for so many people. Especially the Alley's production, people flock to. When did all three of you take your turns answering it? But when did you all in your own lives become aware of A Christmas Carol?
I became aware of it in the early 2000s when I was going to U of H and heard about the Alley doing it.
Really?
Yeah, and then got to be in the 2006 version. That was my first time being in the Alley's version.
And everyone since, or
Dancing Ghost? No, I
come and gone.
I went away to L.A. and came back. So it's nice to be back in a different new version.
Adam?
My first bout with Christmas Carol was somewhere in the 90s where I played a 12 or 13-year-old Scrooge at my community theater.
Groundbreaking.
That's right. The one where Dylan and I both grew up and kind of cut our teeth. And then, I joined the Alley's Christmas Carol right as I got out of Sam Houston in 2008, I believe. And I've been, for the exception of a few years, been there ever since.
Okay, Dylan, wrap us up.
First awareness, definitely Muppets Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Which is arguably one of the best versions ever.
Fabulous.
And I've been doing the Alley Carol since 2009. I think this is my 17th year to do it. I took 1 year off to do a one-man show downstairs, but I've been hooked ever since.
So when you guys do this, do you get to play other parts, give it a different year? So you don't get pinholed into always being this character?
Yeah, in our new version, I played Cratchit for the 4 years that we've been doing it, but I've been all over the map in the years that we've done it before. I think I've played every ghost at this point. I played Marley one year. I played the female housekeeper one year.
Yes.
Do you already know the words?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
The whole play.
it changes slightly depending on the adaptation, but the text is pretty much the same inside of it.
See, and that's my problem with Muppet Christmas Carol is I know that one so well. I think if I were in there, I would slip in the Gonzo lines and stuff and be like, oh wait, that's not real. That's not.
And no one will be mad at you for that.
We did a version of Christmas Carol on an old radio show I did 1,000 years ago, and I had to write the script, so I kind of stole it from Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, and thinking I was staying real to the actual text. And in listening to the recording back, there are Mr. Magoo lines that made it in about the way I see things. I was like, oh my God, that wasn't really in it. That was Mr. Magoo. So I can see how these get morphed and worked in. But the version you guys are doing, based on the original short story or novella or however they want to call it, but it changes from year to year. What changes?
Well, the changes honestly aren't too vast. You do get different flavors with different cast members, but what's something that I think makes this version stand out, this adaptation stand out, speaking of the text, is that it does include a lot of beautiful text that you don't often get to see in a lot of other versions. A lot of the other versions are kind of pared down, and you kind of hit bullet point to bullet point to bullet point that is past, present, future. But with this adaptation, there's just so much beautiful language that you wouldn't get to hear otherwise.
So you guys must love it, because I would think that when I hear about these Broadway runs, and I would think just being on Broadway for 6 months would be exhausting. But to come back to the same show year after year after year, despite a little change, you must really love doing it.
Absolutely. And even when you're in what I call the doldrums of the run, where you're like in the middle of it, you look out in the audience and you see someone's face who's never seen it before, and they're generally experiencing it for the first time and having a great time. Then the joy just kind of rushes back into you, because it's people rediscovering this classic story.
So how do you essentially keep it fresh? I mean, I know you talked about a little bit about the inspiration, but to stay kind of on top of it and fresh and, be in it.
Well, we actors are always looking for great writing, and just Charles Dickens is one of the greatest writers of the English language.
Yeah, he wrote some other stuff too, right?
He had a good run.
The language is so rich, the story is so rich, it's so timeless. It just keeps revealing itself to you, especially as we actors go through different adaptations of the story. There's always something else to find every year, and like you say, when you see, there's a lot of young kids that come to the show, and you just like connecting with them. Like, this is their first carol, and they will go, and probably some of them will go do one for another 17 years.
Is there any part of the production that sticks out to you that you kind of have this moment of really feeling close to it?
I get to understudy Ebenezer Scrooge, and I love the juxtaposition of the first office scene with Bob Cratchit and the last office scene with Bob Cratchit, because it's the full gamut of Scrooge's range. He's as nasty as he can be in the beginning, and just as unfiltered joyous at the end. That's what I like. I like the bookend nature of those two scenes.
True
in the play.
arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, what are yours?
Well, speaking of understudying, I actually cover Dylan as Bob Cratchit as well as Marley. So if those two guys go out, I go in. And as a father of three, to be able to slip into that role it's easy. It's very difficult as well, just knowing the nature of what Bob Cratchit has to kind of live through in the course of the show. But to be able to have that connection with these really gifted children that are in the show with us. There's two cast of kids that cycle through every other performance. And a lot of them are really, really gifted kids. And honestly, it reminds me of Dylan and I's childhood in our community theater growing up, being little kids doing these shows. So it's really special that way.
So
do you take a breather?
Dylan didn't escape the question.
Yeah. I've been playing Cratchit for 4 years now, and one of the interesting things that happens is that you start with these kids like playing Tiny Tim, and then it feels like a day passes and they come up to you and they're like, "Hi, I'm graduating from college this year." So you get a chance to track these little lives, that you start with when they're 7 years old, and then all of a sudden you blink and they're a senior in high school. Or
I
senior
think my
in college.
First Tiny Tim is in grad school now.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're understudying you.
That's Slow down, kid. Listen for me. Yeah.
We've seen so much on Broadway just because it has to change, like dramatically, like Sunset Boulevard. From all the costumes and the sets to very just sort of sparse. It doesn't seem like this show will ever do that. it will always be just full.
I mean, the source material for this show is so strong that I think that the real trap you would get into is trying to get away from that. You know, and the further you get away from that, the further you kind of get away from the heart of this story. And so I think because of that, it kind of encapsulates in what you're saying productions that have a similarity to them, but at the same time, a different point of view. But always that source material is at the center of it.
Yeah, always great costumes and great
And our adaptation that we're doing now by our artistic director, Rob Melrose, it really is about getting to the heart of the story. This we're not trying to do some kind of fancy spin on it or something like set it in space. You know, it's really to the heart of the writing.
But talking about fancy spins on it, stuff we've mentioned, Muppet Christmas, oddest Christmas Carol you've ever seen, or adaptation, because there's some ones out there. Anyone, guys?
Maybe they don't look at them. Maybe it's like, I do it. I don't need to watch somebody else do it.
If only I could go back in time to my 12-year-old Scrooge. I think
that was the odd
strange.
one.
And I saw that. It was pretty odd.
We did get a YouTube comment. Charlie Parker, Texas says, I took my daughter last year and we both enjoyed the show immensely.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. So
Are you guys pretty sold out every night?
It's been fairly full houses. Yeah, it's been lovely.
I bet. For some people, it's hard not to go every year.
That's right. It's a tradition. It's like people who want to go to Nutcracker every year, want to go to Christmas Carol. It's how people begin their holiday season. And without it, it feels like, what's going on?
Exactly. That's part of the beauty of the show in that it does stay relatively true to what was set 4 years ago, is that you get that comfortable feeling, you know more or less what to expect, but that's why we like rewatching old films. That's why we rewatch, It's a Wonderful Life every year, because it's that comforting, nostalgic feeling, and that's fortunately what this production offers.
Is the show done around the country, or are we one of the few places?
Oh, yeah.
But we, as much as we have it on?
Yeah, lots and lots of regional theaters have it as sort of their centerpiece in their year. And then I think there was a tour going around last year. It's always holiday fare. You can always find Christmas Carol somewhere.
Yeah.
We are speaking with actors Brandon Hearnsberger, Adam Gibbs, and Dylan Godwin about the Alley Theater's annual production of A Christmas Carol. If you would like to join the conversation, you can give us a call or text 713-440-8870.
Dylan, you talk about the number of years you have been in it and the different characters you've played. I'm curious the way you take on, for example, Cratchit, having played with that character in different aspects, how it changes how you see the role. And is that one of the parts, kind of the charm of having a company of actors and returning to the piece year after year?
Absolutely. I watched for years and years Chris Hutchison, who's one of my favorite actors, play Bob Cratchit. And when we switched this version, I switched over into that track and he moved over to Marley. And it can be a bit of a test sometimes to not hear that line reading of his in your head, because I must have heard him do it 600 times. I mean, not even kidding, But it's also, in a company situation, it's a beautiful thing to have a rite of passage, to move into the role that you watch someone else do for years and years, and to see how it kind of shifts around, but we still kind of maintain ownership over it. And the wonderful thing about Christmas Carol is that we have this extended company that comes back to us every single year, and so we all get to be part of that collective kind of memory and history of the play.
I want to know about the party the last night.
Or are you just too tired after this run?
I doubt it.
That's
really, truly, by that point, what is it, like the 29th or something?
Yeah.
So, like
28th
I said,
this year.
what I say, we start rehearsals before Halloween, we open before Thanksgiving, and we close after Christmas.
Right.
So it's, by the time you're hitting
How
the
many
28th,
shows a
29th.
week?
We ate this year. Yeah.
So there's no party.
There may be an informal. If we do, we'll let you know.
Please. I would love to be
first on the guest.
That's right.
That was the point.
You've each got 10 seconds to answer this. After being in Christmas Carol, what does Christmas mean to you? Start over here.
Redemption, a new start. It's never too late.
It's a beautiful time for togetherness, just to be as close as you can to the ones that you love, and the ones that have kind of gone ahead of us.
Dylan.
An amazing time to check in with yourself every year to see where you are now as opposed to the year before or the year before that.
That's beautiful. Nuts and bolts. Alley Theater, just go online, find a ticket.
alleytheater.org. The ticketing is right there. When you get in there, we do a show every night of the week. We do 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and we run until December 28th.
Great.
Dylan Godwin, Adam Gibbs, and Brandon Hearnsberger are all Houston-based actors currently starring in the Alley Theater's A Christmas Carol. Brandon, Adam, and Dylan, thank you all for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having
us.
us.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our show. An honor to have you guys here. Good to see you. We'll see you again tomorrow, we hope. We thank you all for listening and watching Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow, and we'll share our weekly current obsessions. Might be Christmas Carol, you never know.
Could be.
If we want to know yours, this is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from downtown Houston, a growing urban district and home to performing arts, Houston Rockets and Houston Astros, and global headquarters with over 1 million square feet of office leases signed this year. Details at downtownhouston.org.